Good evening. It's 8 p.m. on August 1, 2018. It's Emancipation Day in Guyana, and we all know what a significant day it is, not only for the African slaves who were brought, persons who were enslaved and brought to Guyana, but indeed as a lesson to the liberation struggle throughout the world, even to today. It's a time perhaps when, as a country and as a people, some amount of reflection needs to be done. Celebrate, yes, but what are the lessons to be learned? And have we in fact learned any lesson? My guest this evening on Plain Talk is my friend Ramon Gaskin, who's been a regular on this program. I think you're going for your summer break, it's called, is it, Ramon?
Yeah, that's
you're
what they
going
call
for
it.
your summer break.
Yes, I'm going for my summer
At your
break.
dacha.
No, I don't have a dacha,
Dacha,
but
yeah.
I'm going to visit family.
Family.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be nice to have Raymond, Mr. Gaskin, on the program this evening to discuss some of the issues which confront us in the year 2018 as we look back where we've come from since 1834 and 1838. So Raymond, welcome to Plain Talk.
Thank
And
you
just
for
in
having
case
me.
I forget to say it, I don't have time to say it later. I think your holiday is well deserved, and I hope you
Yeah.
really enjoy it
Yes, I am planning to.
and don't take on too much about Guyana.
No, I don't plan to take on about Guyana when I'm outside.
Tell me, Raymond, on Emancipation Day 2018, what is your predominant thought?
Oh, I have reflected on that. The predominant thought on Emancipation Day is that nothing is ever accomplished without struggle. That we cannot change. Nothing has ever accomplished without struggle. And the emancipation and the liberation from slavery was accomplished through struggle of the slaves. There's a lot of talk here over the years about Queen Victoria and a whole lot of people freeing the slaves. All of it is nonsense. The slaves were freed, and they freed themselves through struggle. Predominantly, mainly. Of course, there were other factors which led to that, to the timing, that the time had come for this thing to be overthrown anyhow, and slavery was overthrown. Chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was overthrown, and after that came indentured slavery. The word slavery is not always used when we talk about indentureship, but it is my considered opinion that the system of indentureship that succeeded
Because they were bound against.
yeah,
They were bound.
and was a whole system of slavery anyhow, until I think 1920 January 1 the proclamation ended it, and that system of indentured slavery came to an end, and then that was followed.
But the two were qualitatively different, weren't they?
Well, you had chattel slavery and indentured slavery. The main difference was that in the chattel slavery, the slave owner owned the slave. That's the main difference. That's why they call them chattel slavery. It was part of the property of the slave owner. But the indentured slavery, the conditions and the brutality and the exploitation and the violence was very present in the system of indentured slavery, and which was part of the whole system of colonial slavery too, which after 1920, after the indentured slavery.
But the destruction of the family system, for example, in the two, the two forms of exploitation, was also different.
Different, yes, in the family, but as an economic system, it persisted. It persisted with indentured slavery. But the next thing about slavery here, when you asked me what my predominant thing, we're very emotional here about slavery, the brutality of it, the wickedness of it, and the violence of it. But the way I understand it is that slavery as a socio-economic system came upon the world on the stage as part of this continuing development of society. If we go back to the Marxist position, which I subscribe to, after primitive communal society, and it was replaced, we know, in large measure by feudalism, which later gave way to capitalism. So although it was brutal and wicked and bad, I see it as part of this continuum in the development of human society. And it could not have been otherwise. It could not have been, we could not have avoided it. So we had the slavery, indentured slavery, colonialism, feudalism, capitalism, and all these isms, which will go too. Eventually they will all go. In the same way slavery went and the feudalism was overthrown, the capitalism will be overthrown at the appropriate time. So that's how I see it. That's my predominant thinking on the subject.
What are the, let's localize it to Guyana.
Oh yes.
What lessons have we in fact learned, given what you've just said, that the main lesson
It's struggle.
is struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and the willingness
Mm-hmm.
to lose your life?
Yeah.
Because that's happened, and you know, every time one
Oh.
passes parade ground,
Mhm.
you think, look, people's head beheaded and their heads
Mm.
put in stake.
I think as a nation we've lost that main point of struggle to achieve. We saw it in Enmore 48 and the rebellions in the estates and the rebellions among the slaves. We tend to lose track of that fundamental point, that you can only accomplish anything you want to accomplish by struggle, improvement here. And over the last, I would say, 70 years, we get caught up in this thing where the major communities are fighting each other for power.
But is it not that that capitalism and benign capitalism, if that's not a contradiction, in fact trumped everything else? This struggle and the continuum and the approach to Marxism and all that.
The capitalist system produces its own set of contradictions, and these contradictions lead to struggle. They growth of the trade union movement, even in the developed countries. We know the teachers were on strike in the United States up to a couple of weeks ago, and so they struggle all the time.
But we talk about Guyana.
Well, we come to Guyana now.
Yes, yes.
The struggle in Guyana here has become distorted with the split in the national movement, and there's a struggle not against the exploiter. There's a struggle between the two main ethnic groups for power, for political power.
But
So we've lost sight of the main contradictions in the society.
Which is
who's oppressing whom? Yes,
and who's doing this oppression?
Who is oppressing whom in Guyana? Well, in Guyana, it is my considered opinion that the people of Guyana, I would say all the people of Guyana, are being exploited by foreign investors. Starting 1917,
but
you go back to bauxite, sugar, Bookers, Sambaj, the works, oh my, the whole works coming right through, and then we're on to the big people now, the oil people. So there you have these foreign exploiting the whole country. Now inside Guyana, you have exploitation of our workers by certain capitalist elements.
But you say, Raymond,
I separate the two.
You say it's the division along ethnic lines.
The struggle.
But both of these principal combatants seem to have in common an embrace of that very system that you're suggesting has modernized the form.
You mean the capitalist system?
Yes, of oppression.
Well, the whole question of the ideological development of the working people of this country, which Rodney had done a lot of work on since he came here, and even when the PPP was first founded in 50, and even during Barnum's time, they had all tried to to develop the ideological.
So those parties have abandoned those principles, haven't they?
Well, I think it is fair to say that the PPP now is no longer interested in anything socialistic. It is also true to say, I think now that the PNC is no longer interested in anything Bonomistic or socialistic, and so is the AFC. They're not interested in anything. So they've all now come to embrace the capitalist system. I think so. All three of them. The system of exploitation of our people and our resources. Not only the people are exploited, the resources are exploited, and the whole country is impoverished from this system that they all embrace. And we have to fight them.
When you say, and you're using some words interchangeably, struggle, resistance, fight.
Right, yeah.
You, and I'm not trying to flatter you, you're an exception to this. You continue to struggle against what you perceive to be some of the injustices.
And a system that exploits our people and our country. Yes.
You recently you've taken a lot of interest in this procurement system.
Yes.
We thought that with the procurement commission being put in place, a high-powered procurement commission, we wouldn't hear all these things about contracts.
Well, part of the struggle against this system is also struggle against corruption, because corruption is part and parcel of this system. And therefore, anybody who wants to struggle against injustice, and you have to struggle against corruption, you're not going to get a system, a capitalist system down here, with the private capital people without corruption. And we have to struggle against corruption as part of our political work. I have two matters there recently. I had cause to refer them to the Commissioner of Police.
What are these two matters?
To investigate. Well, the Minister of Finance reported in the press that he had taken the ExxonMobil money, which is called the signing bonus, 18 million, and he put it in some foreign bank, the Bank of America, and he said he'd received 36,000 US in interest. And when I calculated it,
over what period?
Well, he didn't say, but he said 1.8%. So from the little maths I knew from Saints, I calculate 1.8% of 18 million US is about 270,000 US a year. And he said he only got $36,000. So I asked the Commissioner of Police to investigate it.
Has the Commissioner of Police responded to you?
They haven't responded to me as yet, but I'm hoping that they would. And they'd better give me a good answer, because I will pursue this matter. And if we have to fight,
if they don't,
we'll go to the private criminal charge. We'll go to the private criminal charge. We'll go to the DPP, and we'll fight the private criminal charges. But the reason we go to the police commissioner is because the DPP had said earlier, when you want to do this kind of thing, you must go to the police first. So that's why we go to the police.
There's no requirement in law for that.
No, there's no requirement in law, but since she advised that, we're willing to do that. And on the procurement side...
No, you said there were two matters.
And the second matter has to do with the Mazruni prison contract, which was awarded to some contractor in Trinidad for $3.5 billion with a B, which is billion.
Which is 1,000 million.
Yes. 3.5 billion, and all the local bidders had bidded 2.4 and 2.5 billion for that project, and it was eventually awarded to some Trinidadian people for 1 extra billion on top of what the local guys had.
You're making an astonishing statement here.
Yes.
Where is the evidence to support what you're saying?
The bids, it was publicized, the winning bid. The winning bid is a Trinidadian company working with a local company.
Now, who made this decision?
I found out that the decision on the award this is a Ministry of Public Security job.
Mr. Ramjatan, Vice President Ramjatan.
Well, he's the minister, and this prison is being built at Mazruni. 3.5 billion is a lot of money, as you know.
Now, from what you know, there were a number of bidders.
Yeah, 4 locals and 1 Trinidadian.
And there is no indication that the 4 locals did not have the capacity.
No. All the locals could have done the job at 2.4 and 2.5
So
billion.
who made this decision
Mhm. To give these people
to give away $1 billion
extra.
to a Trinidad firm when you had 4 Guyanese firms
Mhm.
that were willing and
Unable
able
to
and
do
had
the thing.
indicated and
Uh-huh.
had legally submitted bids?
Yes. And I've asked the Commissioner of Police to investigate this matter.
So
That's
you're
why
not
I've
sure.
asked-
You're not sure who made the decision.
I think the government people, the ministers, and maybe the cabinet is
This can't be done otherwise than at cabinet level.
that's correct. With 3.5 billion,
But
it's an
the-
extra $1 billion. That's why I've asked the Commissioner of Police to look into it.
But that must be, that's gross recklessness.
It is recklessness, yes. But my inquiries, I start to inquire about this matter. I was told that don't go there because
Don't go there to the prison.
no, don't get too worked up over this matter because
This was a fix.
the politicians are friendly with the trainees, and they.
So I'm asking you, was there a fix?
I don't use
No,
language
you
like
may not.
fix.
I'm asking you.
I don't use
You-
the language.
no,
of
I don't
fix.
want you to sound like Imran Khan now.
No, I'm telling you what was told to me. And
Uh-huh.
what was told to me in English, in Creolese English, is that you know them boys gotta get something too.
Well, that's a fix.
Yeah, but I don't call it a fix. They call it the reality. And the politicians and their friends get the contract.
Now, since
$1 billion
this
more.
government came into power,
Uh-huh.
a public procurement commission
Uh-huh.
has been installed,
Yes.
and it's not a little.
Mm.
By the
Mickey Mouse
way-
thing is a big thing.
Each
Mm.
commissioner gets hundreds of thousands of dollars per
Mhm,
month,
mhm.
ostensibly for working full time.
Well, I don't think they work full time. I don't think they do any much work at all. And a lot of this work, a lot of these things
So, but are they supposed to oversee the procurement process and to step in and say, look, we need some good explanations?
I guess they would get involved if a serious complaint were to be lodged with them.
But Raymond, can't they take things on
Oh,
their
this
own?
on their own and see the thing. 2.4, 2.5, and then 3.5. Awarded for 3.5 billion, 1 billion extra.
You
They
like
should
to
be
talk
looking-
about border market. Of course, the border market
We would know that, yes.
would say that.
Any vendor at border market would see that thing straight away because an extra billion. Uh-huh. So I've asked the Commissioner of Police to look into it, and I'm expecting to get an answer.
When did you do that?
The first one, the first approach, I went to the Commissioner of Police. I went to his office actually at the very, it's a month now, a month.
Mhm.
The first one about the money placed in America, where the interest on that money, it appears to me that Guyana is not getting the interest that it's supposed to get on that
No,
money.
yeah, you said that.
I went, but how
You're asking
about
when did
and
about the month?
the second matter was done this week on the Mazruni prison, the extra billion being paid to this Trinidadian firm.
You leave in 6 years' time.
I'm leaving soon, yes.
Would you be pursuing these two matters even when you're out of the country?
I will continue to pursue these matters because if I don't get a proper answer, I do have in mind to file the private criminal charges. I do have that in mind. And that's the reason why I've gone to the police commissioner first, because I'm following the advice of the DPP. I think these are serious matters that ought to be investigated. I think there's a lot of corruption in both of these transactions here, and the Commissioner of Police is demanded to look at it first. And I'm hoping he looks at it and gives me some kind of answer.
But in this situation, the matter of the procurement for the Mazruni prison, does it require urgent action before the work?
The work has started.
Mobilize.
No, the work has
Exactly.
started. The work has started. But the reason, essentially, I think, why it was allowed to go ahead is because those who were interested in challenging it were advised not to do so.
No, but you were interested in
No,
challenging
no,
it.
I was interested, but I'm not challenging it. I'm challenging it not as a contractor.
I know, but you...
But I'm challenging it still. And I can still continue to challenge it, although the work is going on. I don't want to stop the work. My job is not to stop the work. My job is to...
You want to stop a contract that is
No, but
is riddled with corruption?
Yeah, but
okay?
I don't have that capacity to stop it. The work has started. But I could still pursue this matter of the $1 billion extra that we called upon to pay for a job. It's a corrupt transaction, and we have to challenge it. We have to challenge it.
This government came, as you said, one of the big issues we face as a society, not only from under this government, but long since, is this question of corruption.
Oh yes, and
This government came into power on the strength of its exposure of corruption
and promises
of the PPP.
and promises to do better.
To do better.
They haven't. They haven't. Up to last week, we've been reading about this big contract given to some gentleman in New York to supply $380 million worth of drugs to this country, and single sole sourcing and all that. Continuing the same wickedness that the PPP did when they were inside here, with sole sourcing and giving the contracts to your friends.
I have heard independently that there is also a potential $1 billion kinds of things with a ministry being constructed, and again sole sourcing.
Yes, yes. I'm hearing these things every day. I hear them every day, yes. Now the contracts are being given out now without
And that's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs
Yes.
is doing some of this work here too.
And that ministry is led by Mr. Carl Greenwich.
Carl Greenwich is the minister as far as I know.
Now, that brings us to oil. Minister Carl Greenwich is one of the big defenders of this contract.
Yeah. He did speak up. He wasn't too
Most
happy.
aggressively.
Yeah, yes. But those who are criticizing the deal.
We will get to oil just now.
He's very friendly with them. It looks so.
Minister Greenwich was with the Chinese the other day about some Silk Road.
The Silk Road is coming to Guyana.
You know the Silk Road passed Sri Lanka, and you know what happened?
Yeah.
And you know it passed certain African countries, and you know what happened?
That's correct.
The Chinese
Silk Road coming here.
have practically taken away state assets, taken away sovereignty.
Well, we owe
in the case of Sri Lanka,
we owe the Chinese a lot of money here. We owe the Chinese
they
a lot of
took
money.
over one of the major ports
Uh-huh.
for 99 years.
Yes. Which is like they own it forever.
I'm going to ask you this question. You know the story about Helen of Troy.
I heard about it.
Yes, you heard about it. You went to a good school, Raymond. You went to St. Stanislaus.
I went to
Cambridge.
yeah.
Do you see the Chinese operating like the Trojan horse?
I see the Chinese operating like the French colonialists, because I read Lenin all the time. You read about Helen, I read about Lenin. And Lenin in his book on imperialism explained how all these various colonial powers get colonies and how they do colonialism. And he was comparing the French and the British. And he said the British use a lot of gunboat
diplomacy.
Gunboat.
So-called gunboat diplomacy.
He said, but the French, they colonize you with loans.
So that's it. So the Chinese
so when I read about the Chinese, my mind goes right away back to the Lenin, what he wrote about the
But
French.
here are these people. Why I said the Trojan horse. Chinese are saying we come here to develop you. We come here to help you. International.
Yeah, brothers and so on,
yes.
the cowboy toward all people. I don't.
You fall for that? But
no, I don't. I think the Chinese and the Russians too. They're playing some colonial games, the same games that the French used to play with these countries, with grabbing up all these resources, natural resources, mineral resources, and so on. And these countries are heavily indebted. Guyana is very heavily indebted now to China for the Skeldon thing that's closed down. We owe them for the West Coast Road. We owe them for
Airport, Marriott.
Marriott, yes, and we're heavily indebted to the Chinese.
Tell me something. Do you think Ministers Greenwich and Jordan understand the dangers of some of these liaisons that they're engaging in?
No, I don't think they know what they're doing. They're borrowing recklessly. Only a couple of years ago, the media reported that there was a $7 million US loan to upgrade financial management.
No, what do
I
you
don't
mean?
need, you're a chartered accountant by profession. You need to borrow $7 million US to upgrade management, financial management. What you need is 5 chartered accountants. That's what you need. Not $7 million US loan. And that all this borrowing, this reckless borrowing and reckless spending. That's what we have now. What passes here for economic management? Reckless borrowing and reckless spending.
But
That's
this is not the first time Greenwich in particular has been engaged in economic issues in this country.
Well, he is the man that led the ERP
Yes.
thing during Desmond Hoyt's the structural program there that started in 1988, I think, after the death of Forbes Burnham, and these between Greenwich and Desmond, they upturned everything, of course, that Burnham had set in place, and they got debt relief. It is true, which continued even with the PPP administration and Jaguar and all of them. But they kept borrowing, debt relief and borrowing, debt relief and borrowing. A lot of the $2 billion US debt that the country had at October 92, much of it was written off. A lot of it. But the country kept borrowing all the time. And we still, on the per capita indebtedness, we haven't moved far from 92. But the debt service is smaller than it was, of course, because the economy is much larger.
We need to engage our audience of some of these dangers. How dangerous is it, this so-called Silk Road
thing.
That Greenwich and Jordan seem to be leading President Granger? I was very shocked. I was insulted that President Granger attended the Chinese embassy for the signature of that document. Why not have the Chinese come to, this is our country, partner.
I don't know if presidents go to embassies so easily. But
now, how dangerous is this?
Well, we have to see. There are examples already. We have the example of Sri Lanka and some other places that are so heavily indebted they're going to lose the national assets. That is why I was wondering this bridge that the Chinese are offering to build over the fixed bridge over the Damar
that
River.
will lead to a monumental increase
in rates.
In rates.
But 300 million US you're talking about. We know that the Barbados Bridge at 50 million US, you know the problem up
That's
there.
right.
And if you build a bridge now that is 6 times as expensive as the Barbados Bridge, you'll have big problems here.
Of course, ministers don't pay tolls.
They don't pay. And now we have the Barbados Bridge, people proposing to move the rate from 2,200 to 8,000 odd.
Which of course can't happen. It's
It can't
economically
It can't happen. But
because nobody will be able to pay it.
That's
It
correct. But
just
that's
won't
what they're proposing in order to survive as a company, the bridge company. They're really moving into
Now,
bankruptcy and insolvency.
This borrowing that the Ministry of Finance and seems aided by the Ministry
government
of
and the
Foreign
cabinet
Affairs
and all of that.
and the government and cabinet
Yeah.
seem to be predicated about oil.
Oil.
Now, is oil revenue a certainty? Isn't oil one of the most one of the volatile products internationally?
Well, the oil revenue, they're counting on it to pay all these loans.
No, but I'm asking you, is it not true that oil revenue can move
correct.
from up high up here
That's
today
That's correct.
and low down here the next
the
day?
price and the volume, we know both of which are uncertain. The price of the thing and the volume of the thing. Because we are into the production sharing. We get 12.5% of production, I think, plus the 2%. It has to do with price and
No, that's only
After the
only if you have the
75.
containment clause.
That's
Yes.
correct, after the 75.
Yes.
So we do not know And we do not know, we cannot know now what you're going to get in 2020 or 2021.
And we borrow
against it. We borrow
against money that
yes.
we're not sure we'll be getting.
Yes.
This is
Well, a lot of people here borrow money when they hear the barrel coming or their family sending money through Western
but
Union.
the government is not, government should act a little bit more intelligent.
Yeah, but they bring the culture. They bring that culture into government. That's the problem. It becomes a culture question. They bring that culture into government. You hear that your uncle or your auntie sending the thing for you through Western Union, you think come here, but you can start borrow against it. It's a culture question. It's a culture
At least
question.
that doesn't have the kind of distance. They tell you the Park and Ship or Solomon's Ship or something. But this here...
Yeah, you sure it's coming if your auntie tell you she's sending the thing, it's coming.
They send it, they freight no.
Yeah.
But here you
don't
have
know.
5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
And you're borrowing. They borrow.
Are you borrowing?
They borrow. You've been reading the press like I do every day. 30 billion at Gaisuko. Nobody knows what they're going to do with that kind of money.
They put it in the bank.
They put it in which bank? Incidentally, the 3.5 billion for the Mazruni is from the local budget. It's from the local budget is paying for that. Then you have this 7 million US for some financial upgrading. Then you have a whole set of money from the Islamic Bank, which they're trying to get. Then there's a set of money, 100 million US for the GPL, for some upgrading too. But this is all ridiculous. All of it. All of it is reckless.
But tell me something, all this money we borrow in the past, that's what we keep doing?
Yeah, we keep doing borrowing. Reckless borrowing and reckless spending. And they're talking about capacity building. Since the ERP started in 88, we've been building capacity here. And you come in 2018, and he's telling me he borrowed 7 million US to build capacity for financial management. I mean, this whole thing is an insult to people's intelligence. It's reckless. It's reckless behavior. And these guys don't have a clue what they're doing.
Why does the president allow this to happen?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why do you think the president allows it to happen?
Oh, why the president allows it to happen? If I were to venture an opinion, I would have to say that he is convinced by them, since he's not knowledgeable in these areas, that they're doing the right thing. And if Greenwich and Jordan and all of them tell him it's okay, he would go along with that. I think so. Because he doesn't know better. He doesn't know better. He's not trained in any of these areas. He doesn't know better. It's as simple as that.
You know, Mr. Gaskin...
He himself traveling all over the world too.
The most traveled president
yes.
of
and
Ghana.
He's always out of the place, and he's not here to pay attention to deal with the problems confronting the economy and confronting the people.
I want to go back. You were talking about the history of our economy. Now, if one looks at the projections and assuming that rice and sugar and gold and diamond and so on and forestry do not become the victims of the Dutch disease, the oil... Sorry, go on.
Why would you assume that? We already seen it. The sugar industry is being dismantled and downsized.
We were a great example
it's already being
of the Dutch disease.
Yes, we're starting to see it.
God.
And although the rice industry, they've been upkeeping, I think the production, the tonnage, the price is no longer as good as it used to be with the Venezuelan connection.
And rice will be a major victim of the Dutch disease.
And then
you cannot insulate it.
The government is reporting reduced declarations on gold. And a lot of the gold from the Canada Gold and Gold Fields and Aurora and Europe, all of them, whatever, you don't get the foreign exchange coming back into the country when the gold goes out.
I want to ask you this question. Has there been any time in the history of Guyana where one company practically, one company has accounted for 80% of government revenues?
No, I don't think so, but we've had Booker's and Sambaj dominated the agriculture.
But you had a Portuguese, a Chinese class, a domestic capitalist
and you had
class.
the Demba and so on. You have plenty of them, but we never had one company dominating the thing.
And viewers need to understand this. we have ceded our sovereignty in terms of our natural resource and in terms of our economy. We can't tell ExxonMobil, look, slow down.
That's correct.
They will run, they will determine the
Everything.
future of this country.
I think so.
Our policy on oil, our policy on the economy, our policy on development, our policy in social structures,
Will be determined by them.
by what they do,
And the politics too.
and
the politics.
and by their shareholders in the United States of America.
No, but their influence and the political outcomes here will be quite substantial. I think you'll probably get a lot of politicians being funded by them, working for them, and so on in time to come.
I particularly raised this question about this borrowing
Oh yes.
because a certain government functionary
Mm.
called me the other day and asked me what's my view about borrowing now against future oil revenue. We don't know how much oil revenue
you're
we're
gonna
going to
get.
get. Are you mad?
There's this madness, it's sheer madness going on here. Sheer madness. When you add up all this thing, the billions for Gaisuko, the billions for upgraded management, the billions for GPL, the billions for the all over, it's all craziness. It's craziness. And you don't know what you're getting and when you're getting it. Nobody knows what you're getting and when you're getting it. They say 2020, we don't know.
And yet, the line is everything is good. Minister Trotman says, oh, we never had it so good. Everybody gonna envy us.
Oh yes.
Mr. Imran Khan said we've got everything covered.
Oh yeah, he got every. I heard him on the Al Jazeera program. He doesn't have anything covered. He doesn't have anything covered.
If I were to ask you for oil, do we have a clear policy on oil production?
No, well, oil production wouldn't be determined here.
That's what I'm saying. So the answer is no.
No, oil production and how much to produce will be determined by the man who producing the thing.
Do we have legislative framework for oil production?
We got an old piece of legislation, 6505 or 6504.
One is 1930, 91, 1986.
But there's been no work done there.
Do we have a regulatory
But the parliament, they went to parliament this week about animal welfare. They went to parliament this week about the deal with animals. Some legislation was passed this week, and they're not going to parliament to upgrade legislation on oil and gas in this country.
And so there's no policy
No.
on exploitation.
No.
We have no policy on pricing of domestic fuel. So we will become a major world producer, but we don't know whether the petroleum price will go.
We'll still be importing gasoline and aviation fuel from
But we can
Petrotrin.
reduce. We can reduce. Well,
how you going to
don't forget, we have a stake
in the crude,
in the crude.
and we can
We get-
sell it or pay them to sell
That's
it for
right.
us.
Yes.
But we will still be importing gasoline and kerosene from Petrotrin.
Now, but do we
So-
have a regulatory framework for oil and gas, as opposed to the legislative, the regulatory now?
I know, I'm not aware of that.
Do we have a local content policy?
No, we don't have that. And what you have here, you have a Department of Energy now being created, I think, with some gentleman who's a doctor, who have a doctorate,
Bino?
Dr. Bino, at the office of the president. Then you have the GGMC, they have a petroleum unit there inside the GGMC. Then you have something called the Guyana Energy Agency, set up by law, by parliament, headed by Dr. Sharma. And you have all these
And you're leaving out the Ministry of Natural Resources?
Oh yeah, then you have the minister too. You have the Minister of Natural Resources. The Minister of Natural Resources, the Office of the President, the GEA, and then you have Dr. Bino. That's what you have here. All this confusion you're getting. That's what you're getting.
One gets the impression, and I would love to know what your constituency in Border Market
Yeah,
thinks about
I'll
it.
answer when I go.
That this whole thing is in a total mess.
It is. It's chaos and confusion. Chaos and confusion. Right now you have 4 centers dealing with oil and gas, and then of course if you add the president you'll get number 5. That's what you got.
Now, do we have any policy on auditing these people's statements? have we formulated
Oh,
that?
well, Stacia said he's going to send people for training.
He will do
He
for
do.
taxation.
For taxation.
I'm not talking about taxation now. I'm talking about auditing compliance with the agreement.
No. Well, maybe the Department of Energy might look into that. I'm not sure. I know at GRA they have some geologist who's supposed to be auditing the pre-contract costs. A guy who did geology. He's not an accountant, but he's the auditor for the pre-contract costs there up at the GRA. So total confusion you have. Total
The
confusion.
government, in the form of Mr. Trotman, who was provided full political cover by Minister Greenwich, has accepted that figure.
The pre-contract, the,
The
460.
The
million
pre-contract cost to December 31, 2015.
Although the audited statements of the three partners show 368 million US. We have to keep saying that. The thing has been overstated, and Trotman signed a document that is 92 million in excess of the audited financial statements of Esso, Nixon, and Hess. We have the three statements. We have the documents here.
Would it surprise you
Nothing surprises me in
To
this
learn.
case. No, nothing surprises me. Go ahead.
if we were to learn that Trotman probably did not even read, what was it? Annex C? to that
Annex,
agreement,
yes.
Which
He
is
didn't-
made up.
But the thing is, it's stuck in there. He didn't read it. And if he had read it, he wouldn't have known nothing. He wouldn't have done anything about it. And he signed the paper for 460 million US pre-contract costs, recoverable. 460. That's what he did. It's incompetence of a monumental scale. All of them.
One of the, we thought, and we were told, look, we have to be very careful. We want to ensure we have the best in the world. We were doing a thorough search.
Oh yes.
And for someone, a world class. And the president then says, yo, hold on. I got
my man here, Dr. Bino. Yes. They were looking for a world-class man, and the president got a man. Like how Jagdo was looking for the GCOM, and the president said, I got a man. I got Patterson. You keep looking, I got my man.
And this probably adds to the confusion, or is evidence of the confusion that is
Oh
taking
yes.
place.
Oh yes. Yes. Because there were 5 ministers, I think, involved in this international search for this big export, and the president found this man. But we had a man here, they didn't renew his contract, and he's talking a lot now all over the place. Dr. I think he has a doctorate too, no? Dr.
Yes,
Mangal, Jan Mangal.
Yeah.
And-
In petroleum.
In petroleum,
I
he's
think,
been around.
Petroleum engineering or something, the production aspect
Mm.
of it.
And we have another guy, and he's Dr. Vincent Adams. He's around. He's had some experience in the United States Department of Energy.
In fact, his name was rumored once.
Yes. He's still here. He's still in Guyana. He has a lot of experience in the United States Department of Energy for quite a number of years. But a lot of confusion here. A lot of confusion. Not only in that department. In that
Oh, yeah, that's just one.
You got a guy Suko with the board and the minister and the SPU and all these people and NISL.
No, but government cannot appoint a board. That's breaking the law.
That's correct.
You can't
But
operate
even
a
if you
company.
had a board, let's say you had a board tomorrow morning.
Oh, Lord.
You got the board. Then you got the NISL board. Then you got the SPU man. Then you got the Minister of Agriculture and privatization and sheer confusion. Total confusion all the time. Who's doing what? Who's looking after the 4 estates that are closed and who's looking after the 3 estates that are supposed to be open? And we're down to 35,000 tons of sugar. That's what you got. Total confusion all over the place. Of course, the minister himself, he doesn't know what he's about. He doesn't have a clue about anything.
Well, interesting you mentioned that. You talked about this Al Jazeera program. And we had Mr. Imran Khan,
News and the
Director
program.
of Public Information, and he was seeking to explain that some of this confusion is because we have a coalition government. We have
Yeah,
we have more
yeah.
consultation. But Raymond, we understand synergy means
Yeah.
that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So if you get strengths, they build on each other. So 2 and 2 can become considerably more.
I don't know why he said that the
But-
coalition is a constraint. Having a coalition government is a constraint to
they're
get on
saying
with the business.
this government, this coalition defies the law of synergy.
Yes,
And that is what Imran Khan said.
yes. The coalition is a
He also said about those pre-contract costs that it's not true.
yeah. He was totally wrong there. And he said it's not true. I think some environmentalist was on the program too. She came on later, and she said she talked about the lack of insurance from these people and protection for the fisher people.
Oh,
and
God.
he was saying that Exxon is having all these consultations with
Nobody
with bodies.
oil spill,
Yes,
the
and-
fishermen
Yes, yes.
Are these people for real?
Yes, he said, and they don't have any insurance, and they're teaching you how to deal with oil spill. Yes.
Teaching fishermen how to
Good
deal with oil
yeah,
spill.
Yes.
So what? So there is a spill, and you tell your fishermen, "Come on, boys, we're going."
I don't know what they do.
There's a signal.
I don't know what they're going to do. But when there is a spill here, which there is going to be, if you read the literature and the global industry, there is going to be a spill. The fishery sector will be badly impacted, and jobs and foreign exchange and foreign earnings.
Well, we know it's already been affected.
Yes. So right now there are big exclusion zones out there where they are. These boats are
The
operating.
thing is this: we have allowed ExxonMobil to come in and dictate to us how the country is going to be managed in the future.
Well, is it?
It's as simple as that.
Well, and why is that so? Is it? It's either you're incompetent and you allow this to happen, or you're working along with them, or you're being corrupted by them, and you wouldn't challenge anything what they're doing. It's something of that nature. It's either incompetence or corruption or something that will
Yeah.
allow these people to call the shots all the time, and they're going to call the shots in 2020 when election time comes around. We're going to see what shots they're going to call on the political side. Because I have a strong view
So
that Exxon will want to have their man in place.
No, they said they don't get involved in politics. Though, ask Steve Call about them.
Yeah, Steve Collier about them. They
do it all the time.
They'll be heavily involved here in the politics.
But you know, Exxon only has to hand out a football here
Yeah,
and a cricket
yeah,
bat
see,
here,
they're doing that.
or give somebody from the private sector a little platform,
They're doing some of
and we
that
sell
already.
ourselves out.
They're doing some of that already. They're making a lot of friends. They're sharing out money all over the place.
And the private sector in particular, which ought to know better, is being extremely hypocritical
Well,
and self-serving.
Because they're hustlers. It's a hustle they're on. So
We understand Oakley Airport Inc.
Yeah, but over the airport, they're getting 10 acres up there. The MOU
And Guyanese can get it. And Guyanese can get it.
They get 10 acres. The memorandum of understanding has been signed by SO and the OAI people. I think Mike Correa signed it. And
Former chairman of the Private Sector Commission, was he?
Correa, yeah.
Yes.
And you don't have a tenancy agreement or the sublease agreement, but they can start construction. I saw the MOU. Based on the MOU, you can start construction up there, and you don't have a sublease with
Tell me
over
something.
the airport. I read the document.
There is crude language one could use in this, but are we selling our souls to ExxonMobil now?
Yes, I would say so. I would say so. We know what the scriptures say. What does it profit a man to gain the world and sell your soul? And everybody wants to sell the soul now. That part of the scripture I strongly believe in. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and suffer the loss of your soul? Every day I remember this thing. I learned that at Saints. Go ahead.
Well, you started with Lenin,
Yeah.
then Marx,
And
now
we-
you go on to the
We
scripture.
learn all of that, and whatever, when we learn it and we think it's valid and valuable, we stay with it.
Now,
But all of them will lose their soul. Let me tell you
Couple
straight.
things. we had an interesting vote in the National Assembly the other day,
Yes.
where two members of the AFC, the party chairman and a senior member of the AFC, abstained on voting on a motion and caused the government the embarrassment of losing on that motion.
Two members, two cabinet ministers.
Yes.
They're not just members.
That's correct.
They're members of the cabinet. Very interesting there what happened.
One a vice president.
Uh-huh.
Does it? Yes. So you've got, it was Cameron Ramjatan
And Gaskin.
and Dominic Gaskin.
Uh-huh. Yeah. My wayward cousin. He abstained too.
What do you think is the significance of that in terms of local government elections
Well,
and the cabinet?
A couple of things there.
And you can't leave out your good friend Moses Nagamoto.
Moses, we're going to talk about him on another program. But
He needs a whole program.
he needs a program. But Jagdo deals with him all the time on his program. Two cabinet ministers abstaining on a government motion and breaching the cabinet solidarity. In England, you would have to resign the cabinet. You'll have in England, the rules there. You have to resign cabinet if you can't support cabinet in the House of Commons. It's very clear up there. I know what they got here, and I think I'm not sure that Ramjatan and Gaskin told the leader of the House that they can't support it and the opposition will defeat
The leader of the House being
the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, yes.
And would not have told the chief whip either.
That's
Ms.
correct.
Angali.
And I don't know, I haven't heard what President Granger is doing about this. This is a serious breach of cabinet solidarity. In England, it wouldn't.
You think it has implications for the coalition and for local government elections, for example?
Well, I think for the Vice President and the Cabinet Minister not to support the government on a matter like that, where the government is seeking approval on a motion in the House, it's very significant. We haven't had that, as far as I can tell, in this country.
Never.
Never. You could do it during Born time, of course, and we never had it during Jagan time and subsequently. Where the cabinet ministers say, I ain't voting for this thing. We've never had it. We've never had it before. But what is the motion? I think the motion was to
Some pettiness.
to buy
Somebody getting
some big project over 2,000 cc capacity for the FIU bureaucrats up there. We have some high-paid bureaucrats or something called the FIU.
Let me ask you about this.
This is more wasteful spending.
We got a couple minutes left, a few minutes left. This touches on freedom of expression and freedom of speech, which embodies freedom of speech, freedom to receive information, to impart information. Someone made some statement, and Ms. Amnali in the parliament spoke about how you impugn, you criticize, you're critical of the president. And then we have a situation where a member of parliament, Harry Gill, writes a letter, and the Speaker of the National Assembly, assuming some kind of deification, almost as he's God, says this matter is going to be with Moses Nagamoto,
Going to privilege
committee for discipline. Now, this is a violation of the Constitution.
Of course it is. Of course
The man is free to speak.
Of course it
Now,
is.
Parliament can have its rules, and he must obey parliamentary rules. But this was outside of Parliament.
The freedom to speak and the freedom of expression, 146 trumps all of that, in and out of Parliament, whether you're inside or outside the place. The freedom is constitutionally guaranteed and protected, and 146 tells you clearly what you can't speak about. And once it's not there, you can speak about it. It says you can't bring the judiciary into disrepute, you can't do libel, you can't do slander, you can't do all kinds of things.
It doesn't say you can't bring the letters into this.
And you can't preach race hate.
But hold on, you know, the Speaker is a man I've had immense respect for.
He's a changed man. He's a changed man.
What does power do to these people?
He's a changed man. He's not the nice guy that he used to be. He's a changed man. He gets very dictatorial and autocratic in his manner of dealing.
This almost that you dare not criticize
Oh yes,
me.
that's correct. Yes, he is displaying some negative tendencies there. But they should have to deal with them.
You're getting very diplomatic now.
Well, on this program, I am. I am diplomatic when I'm speaking before the cameras.
You have 146. You can speak, you know.
I can speak whatever I can speak, but you have to be careful when you speak. But the Constitution is clear that the member can speak. He can speak, and the Speaker of the House cannot send him to privileges.
But what kind of arrogance is the Speaker engaging in?
It's not the first time. It's not the first time.
And Moses Nagamutu, who is the man who claimed to have struggled all his life, has suddenly seen the good life.
And who claims to also know the law and constitution. Scotland too has a doctorate in law. All of them know constitution and law. But the power and the arrogance intrudes upon their learning, and they can't figure it out properly.
You know, I went to the National Park this afternoon to see the number of people that Prime Minister Nagamutu has protecting him with guns.
Is that right?
Guns. I mean, oh Christ, you're going to the National Park, partner?
Well, I don't know, maybe he's not. When he goes to Borbis, he has quite a few battalions come and go with him.
Oh,
to
yes,
protect
once
him.
I saw closer, doesn't he?
Yes.
This show of force.
Yes. Well, I guess he believes the security people tell him that they need it. The security people tell them they need it. So that's what they're doing. So that's what you have here. Recklessness and arrogance and incompetence, total incompetence. And
now, when you add those things together,
yes.
what does it portend? I wanted to use a smaller word, sorry. What does it indicate?
When you have
because listen, we talk about the Dutch disease, the resource curse, which is also associated, and it's often said the two are different sides of the same coin. You have all of this, and because you're going to be getting all this money, you just feel I can be reckless, or I can be more reckless.
But you had this.
What does this do for the resource curse?
You had this week a very interesting phenomenon that Mr. Patrick Yard, of all people, on the public television, said that the government, a range of government, is not fulfilling its promises to the workers. Patrick Yard himself speaking before the cameras. And then you had the teachers.
You sure it was Lincoln Lewis?
No, Patrick Yard. Patrick Yard.
Lincoln Lewis has said the same thing.
No, but Patrick Yard is the president of a union. He was acting chairman of the Public Service Commission and all that. And for the first time, he has come out and said, "I disappointed in you guys, and you're not sticking to your promise." And then the teachers union.
Yes.
They've been dropped around with some task force all over the place, and they ain't getting nothing.
They've been shafted.
They've been shafted, but the government can find $3.5 billion to build a jail at Mazaruni.
That they could get for 2.5 billion. And guess what? Whilst the public servants, whilst the teachers, the public service, the sugar workers, everybody else is complaining, ExxonMobil say we just love it here, we love the people.
Yes. You don't need 2.5 billion. I was talking to a contractor about how much it would cost to go to Mazaruni and build something for a couple of hundred prisoners up there.
Yes.
He said 800 million. Not into billions. The local said 2.5, the government said 3.5. My man tell me you could do this for 800 million.
What is the engineer's estimate?
The engineer's estimate is 2.5.
But if one of the people is saying that it can be built for 800 million...
No, my man tell me that. My man tell me that.
So, I'm assuming your man knows what he's saying.
Oh, yes.
And it can be built for 800 million.
What they're building up there is a 5-story thing with elevator like the Marriott. They're building a Marriott at Mazaruni for prisoners. It's a 5-story building with elevator. Have you ever heard of an elevator in a prison? Even if you go to the United States, they don't have elevators in prisons. They don't have 5-story structures for prisoners. They don't. You don't carry up prisoners in elevators.
Raymond, we got to this coming on the time.
Yes.
This program was Emancipation 2018 Reflections. It's not been particularly positive. Because you're telling me that the choice we have, incompetence or dishonesty.
Oh yes, that's what you have here.
Incompetent or corruption, you said.
Yeah, and you have people doing both. Incompetent people who are corrupt.
And we're saying you have these constitutional bodies, procurement commission.
Not doing the work.
Not doing their work.
No, not doing the work. Not doing the work.
You have the president appointing a committee to get a world-class person And I said, don't worry, fellas.
I got my man. Yes.
And only 2 days ago it was said, oh, we can't rush this thing because we want to get the best in the world.
That's correct. Then you also have this whole problem now where the president picked his man for GCOM, I think, Mr. Justice Patterson, and the opposition leader filed some complaint, I think, with Mr. Carter, who is the architect of the Carter formula, as a result of which now Carter, I think, wants to talk to all of them about getting this Carter formula back in play. I don't think Patterson...
Here again, it was
Patterson
Mr. Granger said, the Chief Justice can have her opinion, I have mine, and I will do whatever. He practically said, I'll do what I want.
He said
because that's what he did.
He do what he want until Mr. Carter called.
So you have Carter on the one hand and Exxon on the other.
Carter called and said, look, I'm not happy with this thing because you know this is my formula. You got to pick a man from Jack Doe's list. I want to talk to both of you. That meeting is going to take place. Carter is going to talk to them, and Carter is going to straighten that particular matter. We'll talk about it when it happens.
You can go peacefully on your holiday and not bother about all these things.
No, I'm bothered about all this. I'm bothered about Guyana all the time. But when I'm up there, right, because I don't access the daily newspapers, I read all the newspapers when I come back.
You'll be following Trump on Twitter.
I'll be following Trump, but when I come back, I'll read all the newspapers. I'll accumulate all the papers.
Anyway, Ramon, Mr. Gaskin, thank you for
and Rhyme Oil and Gas will be part number 53, 54, 55.
You will read them, okay,
yeah.
Good. Thanks, Ramon. I want to wish you all the best on your holidays, and thanks for the support.
Thank you.
On this program. I may have Mr. Charles Ramson, who has indicated his wish to be presidential candidate for the PPP Civic. So I'm hoping we can have him next week.
Good.
Enjoy the rest of Emancipation Day. Hope we do learn the lessons of emancipation, which, as Mr. Gaskin said, is struggle and more struggle. And I'll see you next week.